Hi, Dr. Sharma. So today
Hi,
we're going to
Cindy.
talk about Pharmaceutical Clinician Hub. Yes,
Indeed.
so very interesting. So it's your latest subject. It's your latest project. So before we get into that, do you want to tell us about you and your background and what do you do?
Yeah, what do I do? Very interesting question. I'm a clinician at Addenbrooke's. My specialization is in gastroenterology,
Yeah,
which is digestive diseases. So I focus on inflammation of the digestive system all the way through to cancer, which is a very unique position to be in. So I think
yeah,
typically, a gastroenterologist focuses on inflammation, but I did additional training to understand the oncology side. So you could say I'm a gastro-oncologist, but I think that the labels don't matter so much.
yeah.
So my day-to-day, so diagnosis and treatment, and diagnosis-wise, that's endoscopy. My particular interest is upper GI disease, so anything
Interesting.
esophagus, stomach,
Yeah.
small bowel related. And then I take part in clinics which are cancer related,
Mhm.
focusing specifically on the latest therapies that we can offer our patients. But we are all patients, so I don't like to use the word patient too much. So
Yeah.
that is my day to day. And then when I have some spare time, I like to do innovative things.
Yes, that's very interesting. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. So this is your latest project, Pharmaceutical Clinician Hub. Do you want to tell us more about this and what inspired you to set up the hub in the first place?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So it's a very new project. I'll be honest. It's being built as we speak, so it is a slow process. And I think I know myself when I build things, I do it slowly. We
Yeah.
are in a world where everything needs to be done quickly, but I'm very slow when I build things.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
reason is very simple. So I've been a medical doctor for around 20 years, maybe a bit more,
Hmm.
can't remember. And a lot of what physicians do is prescribe medications because that's what we want to do. We
Hmm.
want to give patients the best treatments. But then, having done this for some time, I realized, there is a certain naivety in myself that, okay, I may prescribe treatment, it doesn't work, there may be some side effects, and so we have to
Hmm.
change position often. And then we run out of options, hence novel
Yeah.
therapies are quite useful. But then, as I sort of observed more, I realized that there was clearly a disconnect. So I can tell you
Hmm.
what I'm experiencing at the moment. So let's say
Yeah.
there's a novel therapy that comes out from a pharmaceutical company. I don't want to mention
Hmm.
any companies, but we know in Cambridge, AstraZeneca is there. So maybe that gives it away. But not all, not all is AstraZeneca related.
Yeah.
And they will say, oh, well, here is a novel therapy. If you have a patient with this particular cancer, you can then offer them this treatment. And so we get very excited because we can give
Hmm.
options to patients.
Yes.
And what typically happens from the clinical side is that we have to understand to a degree the mechanism of action of this new drug, the eligibility criteria. So that's really
Hmm.
crucial because patients have to meet a certain criteria. Are they fit
Hmm.
enough to have this therapy? Are their bloods stable enough to start this therapy? For
Yes.
example, their liver function and kidney function. If that's not optimum when we start, then we will cause problems later on. We
Hmm.
have to make sure their heart function, lung function is optimum, so on and so forth. And there's certain exclusion criteria. And I won't bore the audience with all this, but ultimately, they have to have been off previous treatments for a while. They can't be
Hmm.
on any other medication that may interfere with the new therapy, so on and so forth. So then the process starts. But what's interesting is when we see these patients in clinic, let's say they start treatment, no one from the pharmaceutical industry or environment is sharing that process with us. And I'm all
Mm.
for collaborating with teams,
Yes.
allowing them
Yes.
to witness what we do as clinicians and what goes on.
Hmm.
And I think it's slightly odd, to be honest. So I may be repeating myself, but just imagine a situation. we get told there's a novel therapy, we get given
Yes.
all the protocols and information, we start the process, and no one from the pharmaceutical industry gets to witness that. So I think they're missing out actually, because it's kind of like they've done all this hard work, but then they don't see what's going on during the pathway.
Yes. Yeah.
So do they see anything at all? I would say no. The only thing that they do probably see is the data.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, there's confidentiality elements, but I've got an idea around that. That
Mm-hmm.
if the data suggests that maybe there's some problem with the blood, they get to see
Mm-hmm.
that. They obviously get the data of the surveillance scans. Anyone with cancer obviously has to have surveillance CT
Of
scans to
course.
make sure the cancer is getting smaller.
Yeah.
But they don't see the individual,
Mm.
and they don't see the nuances that goes on. So if you see a patient who has cancer that starts a novel treatment, various things happen along the way. You get to
Mm-hmm.
understand their journey, their background,
Yes.
what their career used to be, how that could impact them on the pathway. They may have issues
Yes.
with anxiety that then plays out during the consultations later on. And this
Mm-hmm.
is all rich data, really, because I know we like to talk
Yes.
about data.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
I think this is an opportunity where people in the pharmaceutical industry then could
Mm-hmm.
capture something different and see
Yes.
something different that then may be a new focus for treatment, or they get to see also the fact that if the treatment is started, the side effects may be quite horrific.
Yeah.
We're obviously the ones that have to then deal with those side effects
Yes.
based on their guidance, but often it's not so straightforward. Sometimes we have to bring in the clinical judgment, and I think they as a collective, people in the industry, it would be really interesting if they joined us and see what actually
Yes.
happens, and also not just from the doctoring side, but the nursing side.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
yes.
and I think also sort of vice versa. So it is something where I think, a lot of what is being said, I think traditionally in medicine is that pharma is potentially bad, or, there's a focus on profits. And I remember this growing up in
Yes.
the medical game. But I,
Yeah.
I think the reality is that we can't do our job without medicines.
Of course.
Um, and then the reverse is, as a clinician, I tell patients that I'm very sorry. I don't have any idea how this drug was made. And I tell them straight out, I say,
Oh,
well,
gosh.
yeah. And it sounds odd because they look at you to say, well, that's really
We
weird.
should know it
Mm,
all.
yes, but I like to be transparent about it. And I say, I know
Yes.
how to manage you on this drug because I know the
Yes.
clinical problems that could happen.
Yes.
But I have no idea where this compound was
Mm-hmm.
made, how it was made, what the steps in manufacturing were.
Yes.
And these things I think are quite interesting because if we then had that
Yes.
understanding as opposed to reading complex science from a PDF, we would probably get that process better. And I think the consultation would be smoother. So I
Yes.
actually tried. And I asked a pharmaceutical company to if I could visit the manufacturing plant, and they never got back to me. So I didn't really.
No.
I thought, well, have I done something wrong here? But it was out of curiosity, I wanted to see what they're
Yes.
doing and how are they
Yes.
doing it, rather than just seeing some fluid in a bag that then hangs up from a stand. So that's
Yes.
really the rationale. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know if
very
you.
interesting. It's
Mm,
I can see the gap or the disconnect is quite a major issue here. Yeah, I haven't anticipated or appreciate this big gap. We thought we just go to the hospital and the doctor know it all, and we will be given medicine, and we
mm,
just trust doctor completely. We didn't realize doctor doesn't know all the information, or clearly there's miscommunication or gap between the communication and between the pharmaceutical company as well as the clinician. So
yes.
So your
Just to really
hub,
correct something, because I don't want people to think that the doctors don't know anything. So we know the
don't know everything.
we
Yes.
know how to manage the an individual who becomes unwell, and
Yeah.
that process is kind of very second nature to us.
Yeah.
But I think where the gap is really is what's going on when the drug is discovered, so to speak. What is that
Yes.
process? Very, very, very few. If I can't even name um, anyone really that has been gifted that process, the
Mm.
manufacturing side, and then
Yeah.
the joining of forces in the clinical environment. They should come.
Hmm.
I'm more than happy to say hi to them,
Yes.
but I don't know where they are.
So, for the hub, how do you think the hub is designed to address this gap, the gap? How do you have any specific strategies that you plan to implement to address this interesting gap between the clinician and pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I also realized on these calls I never know where to look. I'm looking at you because your angle is a different way, but actually the lens is up there. Anyway,
Yeah.
so what I am trying to do is obviously can't do this by myself. So finding people that understand this is the first step. So we are slowly
Mhm.
building a team. The focus is very much international because clearly, it is a global world despite what's going on.
Mhm.
And so I always make sure that we are representing, the fact that we have so many wonderful countries and they all do great things.
Yes.
And that takes time, actually. So um, we have been kind of existing virtually for around a year, but we haven't
Mhm.
done much because the reality is finding the people to
Yes.
understand the message from an international background, it's not so
Mhm.
straightforward. And
No.
so I have a normal job, so I can't push this every day.
No.
So that's the first strategy. The kind of second, third, and fourth. Actually, now that I've numbered things, I probably don't don't remember. But basically, I think first thing is that's the formal side of me. But I think that the next thing to say is the education element really needs to now be ramped up. So we need to start, having these conversations, gaining broad training on both sides. I think traditionally there is an assumption that we have to maybe do an additional degree or fellowship.
Mhm.
I'm not so sure we need to do these things. I think we just need to
Mhm.
do what normal human beings should do and talk.
Mm.
And
Start a conversation.
this thing is good, but also very problematic because I think it limits the natural way of communicating.
Mhm.
And this is why I think things are much slow or
Yeah.
slow. Actually, I don't know the English. Anyway, there we control both. I'm a mix of all cultures. This is the problem. So, we resort to LinkedIn or these things, which is great.
Mhm.
No problem with LinkedIn there.
Yeah.
But there's not a human feel or this connection, and so we can't really understand other things, body language, tone, all these important things that you only get with face-to-face meetings.
Yes.
And for me, when I do virtual meetings, I'm guilty, I'm doing one now, but I don't get a feel of what's going on the other side, and I can't
Hmm.
really tell. And so this really takes time, and it really
Yes.
is. It's a lot of hard work, just that bit.
Hmm.
But yes, the education side, we want to do um, face-to-face meetings and workshops, and it doesn't have to be anything grand. Simple things like just meeting up for a coffee or a tea, having a chat.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of Cambridge is that even though it is quite a bubble, there's this sort of
Yeah.
beauty around that you can suddenly just go for a coffee. It's near the station or Mill Road. Mill Road's
Yeah.
pretty good. Or you can go downtown, or you can, if you get fed up, you can go to Ely. I don't really know, but
Yeah.
there's kind of ways around this. Um,
Yeah.
when the education arm builds, I think that's when institutions will start to maybe clock on to something interesting here. But institutions have layers of hierarchy. There are various
Yes.
power structures that goes on, and I tend to get scared by all this, so I don't get too involved in these things.
Mm.
But eventually, what I've realized, I have a track record in building things that they say, well, it's a good idea and it makes sense. And I think when people realize it's a good idea, they can't deny there is a
Yeah.
value.
Yeah. Just need to get a group of people with similar vision to come together and do something
Yes,
interesting and impactful. Yes.
you get
So
it.
what are you trying to achieve for the hub? I mean, do you have what is the successful outcome looks like for the
Hmm.
hub?
So it won't happen straight away, but
Hmm.
I think a more joined up understanding of things across the healthcare professional side and the pharmaceutical industry would be the best thing. So
Hmm.
what I don't want to see is negative press around the fact that, oh, we still see it, but this kind of
Yeah.
assumption that pharma is bad. They are trying to do
Yeah.
their job, and we can give
Yes.
many examples of how pharma has helped us: antibiotics, pain
Yes.
relief,
Yes.
insulin, medications for heart disease. We would be lost without these.
Exactly.
And so, if we go in with a negative lens, which I know quite a few negative people as well, I seem to attract them. They're, they, they're always thinking in a negative way. And I said, well, let's take a step back. Big picture here is
Yes.
actually, well, there are medicines that do work and have been proven, and there's
Oh,
a lot of
yes.
medicine out there that, we're a bit skeptical. But that's how it is. So the success is we've started.
Hmm.
And I have spoken to individuals in the pharmaceutical industry. They are saying it is a good idea, but what I'm picking up on is that there are certain rules and regulations for people in the pharmaceutical space. So I think they can't talk so much, or there's some barrier there. And actually, I've never come across this.
Yeah.
We had a speaker recently, and the only reason he was able to speak freely is because he was leaving the industry. So I
Oh,
didn't,
yes.
so maybe that's part of the
Typical.
problem. I don't know. Yeah. You seem to, I mean, you can share as well, Cindy, because I'm clueless. These regulations,
Yeah,
I don't.
I was just thinking there's like there's certain people working pharma, their jobs to communicate with the clinician,
Hmm.
like medical affair. I thought that is their job to communicate or to bridge the gap with the clinician. So I I assume they're doing if they're doing their job, clinicians should have all the question answers. So I don't really know in terms of the function of medical affair or whether that's the function is effective to communicate to bridge the gap,
Hmm.
which is, I don't have experience in this area, but I assume that's what I do. um yeah,
Yeah,
I
I think,
mean, mm,
yes. And so medical affairs, I think my understanding of what they do is I mean, they do lots of things well, so I don't want to bash
yes,
on them.
yeah,
Oh, something has just appeared on my screen. Let me minimize that. So I think, yeah, it seems to be, apparently I need to upgrade my Skype, but I don't use Skype anyway. So the thing is that, um, they seem to provide information and they'll talk about studies and safety and things. Um, but it seems to be sort of a top-down thing. I
mm,
don't then see them anywhere in the clinic. So
right,
I find this is really the fascinating bit. Where are they? This is and I keep
yes,
emphasizing this because I really want to share what we're experiencing when we start the process, and they don't see it. Well,
exactly,
they will send an email and ask for, how many individuals are on this treatment, and I'm like, well, this really, you're seeing 1% of what's going on. You're not understanding the nuances of the consultation and the things that can
yeah,
come out.
yeah,
Um, and sometimes, patients or people, um, they will
Yes,
volunteer certain things whilst on treatment that, we're scratching our heads as to what is this? And, we don't really see it written as a side effect. And clearly we go through the process. If it's
right.
a big issue, we do report it back. But maybe it could be interesting for people in the industry to see
Yes,
this.
yes. Yeah, I suppose they always do the phase 4 trial, I suppose, when they
Oh,
pass phase 1 to 3 and this post-marketing surveillance. I imagine
yes.
they will be interested in any reports, patient feedback, or any side effect. I imagine they will be interested in that. So, and it's not like when we go and buy things from like supermarket or John Lewis, at least we get some customer care, customer service afterwards, you know.
Mm.
So these drugs that you prescribe for your clinic, it's very strange to find out they don't really have this ongoing conversation about the feedback of using this product, any issues, any benefits, and comparing with the existing treatment is any better or any worse. I thought this, I
No,
thought
no.
they will be
So
interested in knowing.
no, so just to clarify, they do get to know the side effects. And what I'm implying is that they should be sitting with me in the clinic. They're not seeing.
But okay,
So the emphasis is being part of the clinical consultation to see and visualize for
right,
themselves all the aspects of the consult. So certainly all the side effects are reported, that's normal, but
right,
you just get data, and that data is sent via emails or via their databases, but they don't see the patient. And that to me
right.
is strange because I think you can't label everything. We use a
Mm,
grading system, the
right.
CTCAE, but not everything can be graded or labeled.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
there is elements where we wonder, are there things that they should be seeing and just understanding that dynamic interaction, which I think they miss
Mm-hmm.
out on, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, understood. That's very interesting to know the insight from your everyday
Yeah.
experience. Yeah. So I want to move on to the in terms of talking about the future of the industries.
Hmm.
Do you see any key trends that potentially will influence the future of pharmaceutical industry?
Yeah, so I think, well, I can't predict the future, and I think the way everything is changing, what I say now will probably be wrong tomorrow with the pace of things. But I live in the moment, so here we are. So what I think would be very valuable to myself and the team is really, and I'll say artificial intelligence, but don't ask me what it means. Don't ask me about super intelligence and all these different things. I
Yeah.
don't have a specific passion here.
Hmm.
But I think if there's a way to really reduce the burden on clinical staff
Hmm.
during treatment provision, that would be wonderful. So to give you some examples, we use a computer-based system at the moment that has all the
Hmm.
data of the patients, name, address, date of birth, gender, all the past medical history, so on and so forth. But it's not designed
Hmm.
to even analyze that data and then come up and say, well, this patient should have this drug next. We're still doing the hard mental labor,
Yeah.
searching, looking, checking databases, which I think really is really a long, burdensome process and it's inefficient.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
really wastes a lot of time. So
Hmm.
if there was a way where the data can suddenly be crunched with AI,
Hmm.
whatever I we
Yeah.
then
Machine learning.
yes, and it suddenly says this drug is the right one based on the clinical data. I'm not talking about genomics here because I'm not a scientist, but
No.
that's what I think should happen in the first instance. The
Hmm.
second one, if you again, the consultations are doctor and nurse led, and we have also trial coordinators. And what's happening is if we want a patient to start on a particular trial, there can be maybe one, two consultations just for that around eligibility and
Hmm.
checks. And we manually tick boxes. I did it today actually. And,
Mm.
you know, it may seem like I'm complaining, but it's really kind of, it takes a time.
Yes.
And I'd rather just see the patient and be ticking boxes, to be honest. So
Yeah.
why can't the computer like do that already with all
Some
the data?
automation or
Yes, and we're clicking the tabs, trying to find the information. Oh, the pathology is here, we need to read it, or the biochemistry is
yeah.
here, we need to check. That's very, very troublesome.
Yeah.
So something that really speeds up matters.
Mhm.
You know, the downside is if we stop using our brains, we may turn into mush. So maybe we do need
Yes.
a bit of both. But I
Yeah.
do think that's quite an interesting way to utilize
Hmm.
technology to just to speed up things
Hmm.
on the clinical front. We
Yeah.
now, you know, we're coming across AI for drug discovery, and there's articles everywhere. I
Yes.
won't talk about that.
No.
But this is what I think could be quite interesting in the actual day-to-day job.
Hmm.
Um, but who
Do you
knows?
do you see these trends affecting the relationship between the clinician and the pharmaceutical industry?
So we have a classic phrase at work, which is, "Oh no, not another form." And basically, so this happened today. So one of my colleagues had to arrange a time to meet me, and it's very difficult because
Yeah.
she's busy, I'm busy, and our times are not matching. But there's forms
Oh.
that need filling, and a folder comes, and I said, I thought I've already completed these forms, and she was like, Yeah, that's from last week, and you know, so
Oh.
the
Now
forms
another phone.
are not another form, literally, and I wonder what's happening, and you know, I'm ticking the boxes and checking, and it's frankly exhausting. And I wonder, you know,
Yes.
I'm 42. Why have I got no energy? And I think it's because, to be honest, you know, they say life begins at 40. Well, I'm not sure.
Yes, exactly. You're only 2 years
Um,
old.
yeah, so something's happening, and I think it's the forms. So
Mm.
if
Yeah, it does sounds quite laborious. Yes.
it's very laborious, and some of my colleagues they'll openly say this is the worst part of the job, and you know, well,
Oh,
it is because we're designed to see patients and talk to them, and that's
yes.
where we want to give our energy. If
Yes.
our energy is going into forms,
Mhm.
you know, what are we doing, quite frankly? I don't know.
Yes, that's very interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, that just sounds a lot of compensation task and issues and gap
Yeah.
between the clinicians and the industry. That's really interesting. Thank you for sharing the insight, Dr. Sharma. I'm
Thank
just
you so
wondering
much.
if there's anyone want to contact you discussing collaboration, how do they get in touch of you? Get in touch to you?
Well, they can call me, but I won't give my I won't give my number out at the moment.
No.
But
Do you have a
the
website?
reason I say this is that I prefer talking on the phone in the standard way. But yes,
Yeah,
there's a website, pharmaceuticalclinician.com. We are building. We're also on LinkedIn. So you can reach out or you can find me directly on LinkedIn. Just search for me and then, you know, I will hopefully answer and keep nudging. And yeah, I look forward to welcoming a team and doing something, you know, quite magical with the organization.
that's perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma. I really appreciate your
Amazing.
time. Thank
No,
you.
thank you, and thank you so much.
Cheers.
Bye, bye, bye,
Bye.
bye.